The worst she can say is no. How many times have you heard that? It's the standard, boilerplate advice given to every guy who's ever been nervous about talking to a woman. But according to a massive trending discussion on Reddit, that advice isn't just outdated, it might be completely wrong. The post appeared on the subreddit Sips Tea, and the title asks a question that seems to be haunting an entire generation. Gen Z men, is this getting worse going forward into 2026? Looking through the thousands of responses, you realize very quickly that we aren't just talking about a dating crisis. We're looking at a complete structural collapse in how men and women interact in public. The consensus in the comments? A resounding, depressing yes. It is getting worse, and the reasons why are fascinating and fairly terrifying. Let's look at a comment by a user named Life Begins at 9 p.m., which pulled in over 3,400 upvotes. They laid out what I call the no-go zone map. They pointed out that if asking out a cashier is bothering someone at work, and asking someone at the gym is being a creep, and asking out a friend is ruining the friendship, then where exactly are men supposed to go? This was echoed by Static Dress Sweet, who added a heavy layer of economic reality to it. They mentioned that in 2026, trying to date at work isn't just awkward, it's a one-way ticket to poverty. If a compliment is misinterpreted and results in an HR complaint, you don't just lose a date, you lose your livelihood. In this economy, that's a risk most men are no longer willing to take. But it's not just the fear of losing a job, it's the fear of a reaction that is much worse than a simple no. A user named Public Offender shared a story that clearly hit a nerve, getting over 3,600 upvotes. He described finally working up the courage to ask out a woman he'd seen at the gym for months. We've all been told the worst she can say is no, right? Well, in his case, she looked at him with genuine disgust, stumbled over her words, and then completely changed her gym schedule to avoid him. The community response to that was intense. Users like Real Steve Urkel pointed out that people lie when they say women usually just say no. He argued that when a man is perceived as lower status, the rejection is often ruthless. There is a new, deep-seated fear of being the subject of a creep video on TikTok or being shamed in a massive group chat before you even get home. As user Linus Ulmark put it, in the 1990s, a no stayed between two people. In 2026, your own mother might hear about your failure through the grapevine before you've even left the parking lot. So if the public square is closed, what about friend groups? That's where user MindTheGap7 made an incredible point. They talked about the infrastructure collapse of our social lives. Historically, most people met through a friend of a friend, but the 15-person friend group is effectively dead. We've moved toward having 2 or 3 very close friends, or 100 digital mutuals we never actually see. When the friend group shrinks, the organic introductions vanish. We're left with dating apps, which user the 1990s ruled and others described as a total meat market, where the success rate for the average guy is effectively 0. Perhaps the most profound observation came from Pitiful Little Man. He argued that in the past, men had to go out because they had to sit with their loneliness. There was no high-speed internet, no endless stream of gaming, and no AI companions. Loneliness was a physical discomfort that forced you to take social risks. But now we have what he calls the digital mask. We have enough dopamine available at our fingertips to make isolation comfortable enough. This creates a self-reinforcing loop. Men withdraw because the social risk-to-reward ratio is broken. Because they withdraw, they lose their social skills. Because they lose their skills, their rare attempts at being social fail even harder, which leads to more withdrawal. So what are people's thoughts on this? The overall sentiment of the thread isn't one of anger, but one of a quiet, resigned exhaustion. Many men are simply checking out. They aren't incels in the traditional sense. They are what some are calling herbivore men, guys who have looked at the social and economic costs of modern dating and simply decided that the game is rigged, the stakes are too high, and the most logical move is not to play. If the world in 2026 is a place where every public space is a no-go zone and your only option is a pay-to-win algorithm on an app, it's no wonder so many guys are just choosing to stay home, buy some Legos, and wait for the sex robot revolution that user Doofus Scarecrow jokingly, but also half seriously predicted. It's a heavy topic, and I want to hear from you. Do you think these no-go zones are real, or is this just a case of the internet amplifying the loudest, most negative voices? Drop a comment below. Let's talk about it.